Well, hey guys, it's F1 time on the channel where it's all about racing. In this place, we are going to go pink, 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 and yes, pink, with the 2022 Alpine A522 out of Estabon, Ocan. Now, this car is a resin model. It's mounted on this gray base. It's in this pink and black slipcase. Kind of goes with the livery of the car. Has Alpine on the inside and the outside of it. You'll notice that on the interior of the box too, there with the car. And on the flip side has the Mini-Max, the Alpine official licensing, everything that you would expect from the fine folks at Spatk. Now today we're going to do a 2-for-1, where we're going to take a real close look at this car, as well as the earlier Alpine A552, that in the Austrian GP, which I think was around the 12th race of the season, this one being the last 2 races of the season, and particularly the Bahrain GP with this particular model. Now, the Alpine A552 is a Formula 1 car designed and constructed by BWT, that's Best Water Technologies, and the French Alpine F1 team for the 2022 season. The chassis was Alpine's first under the new 2022 technical regulations. The engine, a Mechachrome built and assembled Renault E-Take RE22, was a 6.1-liter direct injection V6 turbocharged engine. The A52 also had a kinetic and thermal energy recovery system with a combined power output of more than 950 HP. Now, the 22 races in the 2022 season, the Alpine team scored a big fat 0 in wins, podium, poles, and fastest laps. However, it did score points and managed to beat McLaren and finish 4th in the Constructors' Championship. Go figure that. Now, as I'd mentioned, the team used the pink livery for the final 2 races of the 2022 season. Now, the sponsor, BWT, or Best Water Technologies, their corporate logo is kind of blue and pink, so this car kind of fits that. They're an Austrian manufacturing company of water treatment system based out of Moncy, Upper Austria. The French connection, production site in Paris, France. Yes, they do have plants in Paris. The Pink Connection, BWT. The Formula 1 Connection, sponsor of Force India, Aston Martin in 2021, and Alpine in 2022. BWT other motorsport connections are in DTM, ADAC, and GT Masters, Formula 4, and the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. In fact, I have other BWT pink-colored cars that you're going to be seeing in my sports car presentations. So you got to love this car, even if you don't like pink. And pink, granted, is not one of my favorite colors. The finish is a very, very flat pink. It's not glossy. It does, however, contrast and looks good with the black and the blue. If you take a look at the car from the nose on up, front wing I think looks really, really sharp. You've got a little bit of French here in the French blue, white, and red that you have just under the Alpine logo. As I turn this car around, you kind of get a good look at it from all angles. As far as areas, you got the big old pitot tube here under the number 31. A couple other areas close to the cabin. The wheels on it are disc-type wheels. Solid black, red lugs, the red Pirelli P0 tires. I'm not sure if that was super hard or medium. Those of you that know more about Formula 1 can probably tell me, and do so in the comment section. Not much as far as barge boards. In fact, I don't really know if it has any barge boards at all on this. You do have a rather interesting looking floor, particularly with all the extensions that you have there that you can see on it. And I'll tell you, they did a really, just a gorgeous job in the carbon fiber. The decaling, I think, looks really, really good. I've heard Spatk criticized a lot for their decal work, kind of showing, but you can't really tell it in this car. I think the design of it being, and as I mentioned, this was virtually the final design of the car for the 2022 season. So all the changes they had been made to it, and we're going to look at it in just a moment. Again, you have the French connection with the French red, white, and blue here on the little itty-bitty shark fin that they have. The rear of the car shows Alpine on the wing. Got that big old exhaust sticking out there, and look at all that beautiful carbon fiber there is to see on the diffuser. The suspension, I think, looks really, really good. Turn around the flip side, and it's basically the same you saw on the other. The rear wing in pink looks really, really good. Doesn't have the dots on it that you'll find in the 2020-23 cars, much of which I have. Castrol you see on there as well. DuPont. How can I forget? You got to look at the cabin. You got to look at the cabin. Got to look at the cabin. Really, really cool. There is a look at those carbon fiber mirrors. They stand out really good against the pink livery there. And there's a cool look at the steering wheel. Very, very sharp. You've got Estabon Ocan in his pink suit. I think his helmet, which looks, and I'm so glad it's not pink. It would just be too much pink if he had pink on his helmet. A lot of times, you know, their helmets go with the livery or the sponsor. I mean, I do believe he has Alpine on there. No surprise. But I think the helmet looks really, really good. Red, white, and blue. All French. And a close look at the suit, you do see some pink on there. There's also a lot of blue. I think the halo looks really good. And if you notice, I don't know how they get these little tiny decals on the halo. You know, the Alpine I can get, but it's got a black inner ring on the inside of it that you can see there. Again, with little itty-bitty decals on there. Just amazing the work that they do on these cars. Very, very sharp. Now we're going to take a look at this one compared to the other and see some of the differences. Now, as far as the nose and the wing, I really don't see any differences there. They look almost identical. There probably is something small. I just don't know it. Those of you who know more about F1 probably will. The front suspension, the camera hubs, I guess you could call it the wheel covers, they just look absolutely identical. Aerials, pitot tube, identical. Halo, I really can't see any significant difference in it, as in the mirrors. Even the floorboard looks very, very similar as far as the extensions. One thing you'll notice is the side pods are distinctively different, as is how they roll out to the rear of the car. You can see on the earlier model, you've got these really deep channels in it that you have. It's largely carbon fiber black. It's also, I think, it's narrower than the fatter side pods you have on this. And of course, on the later version, you don't have the channels on it. You do have the small venting in there. I'm not sure what that cools in there. Probably something. I don't know what it is. The air intakes look virtually identical on both models. No great surprise. Notice that Estabon Ocan's helmet looks pretty much the same too. Take a look at it from the side and you'll notice a couple things. You have the anti-porpoising support strut there on the earlier model. You don't have that on the later. Again, you know, the floor looks virtually identical. It's just, it is literally the design of the engine, the cell, and the side pods that are distinctively different on both cars, even as they go to the rear. And it's kind of hard to see, but it appears to be much narrower here towards the end where it goes out to the exhaust on the later version than it is with the early version. You can see it's substantially wider at that stage. As far as the back, the rear wings look fairly similar, not a big difference that I can tell, as well as the exhaust. The suspension, I mean, it appears to be pretty much the same, as well as the diffuser. But again, the difference just is the width of the tail end of the car. You can see substantially wider on the blue one than it is on the pink. Rear wing looks pretty much identical. I would love somebody to tell me why they don't have the tire markings on the inside of the rear tires as you do on the front. I've noticed that's something consistent. Also, the wheel covers tend to be a little different, but not substantially between the two cars. Basically, it would appear it's the design of the engine fuselage and the side pods that are the big differences between the two cars, from the 12th race of the season to that of the last race or I believe it is the 22nd. Anyhow, folks, that wraps it up. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you next time.